bit about your relationship with Margaret and how she influenced your work even prior to Big Eyes?
Well, I think sort of indirect influence because I grew up with it. It was very present in Burbank where I grew up. It's a very vivid memory because I always found the paintings quite interesting and slightly disturbing. You know, these children, these cute children, but there was something about it that made me, and that's why I think I liked it. There's something kind of like almost like a horror movie image about it to me, but that's what I like. So I think that there's something, and it always surprised me how popular it was. And people didn't have other art on the wall; they had this stuff on the wall, which I found quite fascinating.
And now I read a quote from one of the writers of this movie, and they said that if it wasn't a true story, they wouldn't believe it. Is that something you considered while making it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, people think like there's a courtroom scene, and they think we went over the top with it. In fact, we toned it down. I mean, when they read the transcript, it was much more extreme. So it was an interesting balance because it's such an unbelievable story. Him cross-examining himself, he can't paint, and everything about it just sounds so unbelievable. But that's what again was exciting to me because it was true.
I can't imagine anyone nailing that scene quite like Christoph did.
No, it was funny. People think we're making a mockery of our court system, but in fact, that's the mild version of how it happened.
Can you tell me about the choice to go with a group of actors that you've never worked with before? Because I think I read that's the first time you've done it since Beetlejuice. Was that on purpose, or did it just happen?
No, it wasn't really on purpose, but I mean, it was an opportunity to work with people that I've admired. I mean, everyone in the cast is somebody that I wanted to work with, so I got quite lucky. It's like a great way to meet people, that you've admired, and to work with them, it just made it extra special. So, I didn't do it on purpose, but it was a very, happy experience.
And all I ever read about this movie when you had first signed on was like, wow, this is such a departure for him. It's such a different kind of movie. But considering how Margaret influenced you, and I think the style of her paintings, I think it does suit your previous work. Did you feel that at all, or did it feel like a natural project to take on?
Yeah, no, I mean, anything I do, I always try to make a personal connection, and this one obviously had it because, not only the work, but Scott and Larry, and working on Ed Wood, and the kind of similarities in the questions of what's good and bad, and what's art and what's not, and the different sort of polarizing perspectives. There's a similarity in terms of those two films. And yet, like I said, something that affects you early in your childhood kind of stays with you, and this was something that definitely stayed with me.
Yeah, that's my Nightmare Before Christmas. It's kind of ingrained in my head for the rest of my life.
Well, this is kind of, these pictures are kind of like nightmare pictures, in some ways.
Can you tell me a little bit about your shot selection and your visuals here? Because I really did appreciate the blending of surreal and realism here, especially how you incorporated the big eyes and the colors. Can you tell me a little bit about finding the right balance for things like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, the color scheme, Bruno, the DP, and I went, we sort of went off from the time, the era, but also the paintings. There's something very lurid about the paintings and slightly off. And so we tried to kind of go with that in terms of the palette of the film and the color scheme of the film, the kind of weird bright greens or reds, or, the kind of bright but slightly sickly kind of colors that I feel sort of come from the paintings, really.
And how about working with your cast here? Just your work in general as an actor's director. Did the tone and nature of the material change your process at all?
No, I think every actor likes to work differently and to sort of approach things from a different way, and so you try to allow that to happen, and it's weird because you're doing a biopic, but at the same time you're not really. It's not like these are not well-known figures, so you have a certain amount of freedom to just kind of create what you feel is your version of what you feel about these characters. And so, Amy, met Margaret, and I think that was very helpful for her. Walter had passed away, and I don't think Christoph works in a different way. He was just more interested in I think, the script and his own interpretation of it. And so, you just try to allow each person to kind of create the character in the way that they feel it's the best way for them to do that.